So I'll be taking you through on how do you raise a young chick. That is a day 0, a day 1 chick to a point where now you start producing. So the first 3 weeks is very important for the life of a bird. It is the most critical time in a bird's life. And that's why we say that you have to be very keen on how you are checking on your chicks the first 3 weeks. Because when the chick is born, it can give you maybe 1 or 2 things so that you understand the birds. Because majority of the times we don't understand the bird, and that's why sometimes we go wrong. So when the chick hatches or comes out of the egg, the first 3 days it survives on the egg yolk. It's inside the abdomen, that is where the yolk is. So the chick is able to survive 5 days with that yolk until it gets exhausted. So the chick, when it arrives at the farm, you have to ensure that it is able to access feed and water immediately. Immediately it reaches the farm. It will not take very long because, number one, you have to encourage the chick to start eating as early as possible. Why do you do it? Because we are saying that the first 3 weeks, immediately the chick hatches, the body organs and the body system, this is the time they are building up. If it's the immune system, it's the time the immune system of the bird is building. If it is the digestive system, it's the time it is building up. If it's the other organs, like maybe the bones, the pelvis, every part of that bird is the time it is developing to the maximum or to its mature size. So the first 3 weeks is very critical, and you don't need, you have to be very careful not to mess up with the first 3 weeks, because if you mess up with the first 3 weeks, some of the mistakes that you will make during that critical time, it will affect you. It will affect the entire life of that bird. For example, if you are doing layers, you do bird brooding the first 3 weeks, it will affect you when it start laying. So you'll have issues with production. Your birds will not peak. We say peak production. They will never reach that because you affected the potential of that bird. The other thing is you'll have so many challenges like cases of prolapse. You'll find the bird is laying and then the egg is pushing out the system, the reproductive system. So you have to be very careful. Then how do you go about it? So number one, you have to prepare the house before the chicks arrive. How do you do it? Have to ensure that the house is properly cleaned and disinfected. That is number one. Number two, you see the poultry house as it is right now, it is open, all the sides. But when you are brooding, you need to supplement heat. You need to bring heat in that house. So what do you do? All these openings, you have to put the curtains. You put the curtains, the sack. We don't use iron. We don't use polythene. We don't use polythene sheet because we have to ensure we have flow of air. So that's why we use the sacks, the feed sacks. So you put all around so that you close all those opening so that you're able to contain the heat inside that house. Because heat is very critical. The chick itself cannot regulate its own body temperature for the first 5 days. So you have to ensure that the heat temperatures are right. So after ensuring that you have the curtains are set, the house is cleaned and disinfected, you have to ensure that the chicks, they have somewhere to stay. That is, you have to prepare the brooding area. You have to ensure that there are wood shavings. So ensure the wood shavings are there and the wood shavings are splayed. So you spray them beforehand. The other thing, before you bring chicks in that house, you have to ensure that the house is heated. So you heat the house 5 hours before you bring in the chicks. You can either use electricity to heat, you can use jikos, any form of heating as long as you provide the required temperatures. So ensure the house is well prepared. The other thing is you have to ensure that the brooding area where the chick is coming, we are saying that we have to ensure that it feeds immediately and drinks immediately it reaches the poultry house so that you give it a very good start. So you have to ensure that the 70% of the brooding area is covered with feeds and water. The bird will not move more than 1 meter to look for feed or water. So you have to ensure that you have the right equipment, and you have to ensure that 70% of that brooding area is covered with feeds. That is where you start. So the temperatures are okay, feed and water is available, and everything is set. Now that is the time now you bring in the chicks. We usually say that the digestive system of the chick at daywood, it is sterile. That means that it is free from any form of diseases. That means that the chick will start picking diseases immediately it lands on that floor. So what you do is ensure that the chicks get the best before they start off the life. So then the other thing that you need also to ensure or to consider is that you have to support this chick, especially the digestive system, because digestive system is where the secret lies in this poultry production. Because what do we need, or what are we aiming at? By the end of the day, we have to ensure that our birds, they feed well, they digest that feed well, and they utilize everything that is ingested in that bird. By that, what will you get in return? The birds will feed less and they will produce. Because one of the key challenges that we are facing nowadays, and the farmer can only make some savings from the feeds that the animal consumes. So what then do you capitalize on? Ensure the digestive system is super. That means it is able to digest well and it is able to absorb all the nutrients. So that means that the birds will get all the nutrients even in small quantities. So they will feed less and they give you production. So that is the secret. And that you can only ensure by having a very healthy digestive system. How then do you ensure that you have a very healthy digestive system? We have said that at a day old, the digestive system is sterile. So what you need to ensure is that anything that enters in the chick, immediately you place it in the brooding area, is something that will be of benefit to that system. What do? The science now behind probiotics came in. So probiotics, you give them from day old. What are these probiotics? These are living. They are living things like bacteria. They are living things like yeast. So in this family, when you feed the chick, they start colonizing the digestive system as early as possible. When they colonize that system, that now it acts like a barrier. Because once the chicks start pecking the feeds, it will collect the bad bacteria, like say E. coli, salmonella, in the environment. So when you feed them, when you give them probiotics early enough, they are able to colonize the whole system of the digestive system. So what will happen is when the harmful bacteria comes in, it has nowhere to attach, it has nowhere to multiply. So what will happen next? It will be pushed out. So what happens by the end of the day? You have a very good environment for the growth of what we call the villi, which are very important when it comes to feed absorption. Because if you don't have good absorption, then you'll be wasting. And anytime you invest a shilling in buying feed, remember, you are not buying the maize in that feed. You are buying the nutrients in that feed. So anytime you lose on nutrients, you are losing money. So you need to ensure that less of nutrients is being lost by ensuring that you have a very healthy, a very strong digestive system. So what then do you give? What then do you give supplement as a chick? Number one, we have said you need to embrace the science of probiotics. These are the beneficial things you feed the birds as early as possible. The other thing is you have to boost this chick. Remember, the body organs are forming. The body organs, one of the key thing is the liver. Liver is very important. You minus the liver in a bird, there is no bird. Liver is everything in birds. It's very important. So, as it is important, it has so many threats. And one of these threats, number one, is diseases. It can affect the liver. Number two, another thing that will affect the liver is what we call the mycotoxins. Mycotoxins, they are usually in feeds, or what we call a major is aflatoxin. So once the bird consumes the mycotoxins, it goes and destroys the liver. And liver is everything. So then what do? Then you have to support the growth of the liver. You have to support the maximum function of the liver as that early age. What then also do you need also to do? You need also to give some enzyme to help in digesting so that the chick is able to digest very nicely. So in that, there is a product that I use. It's called the Vigorex. Vigorex. I use this product. The reason why I use Vigorex, I've said that there are things that we have to consider. Number one, we have talked of probiotics. In Vigorex, I find probiotics necessary for that chick at such early age. Number two, I find in Vigorex, I'll find those enzymes. The enzymes, they help in digestion. So the feeds are well digested, and therefore nutrients are released, and then the chick is able to absorb. The other thing is Vigolex has what we call the liver extract. The liver extract, major organ here target is kidneys and the liver, because you have said liver is everything. So Vigolex, when you give Vigolex, you ensure that the liver of that chick is performing well and is able to function very well. So that's why I give Vigolex, because by giving Vigolex, there are some benefits I will realize as a farmer. One of them, my chicks will be very healthy, because digestive system, which is healthy, will have less diseases. It's one of the entry point of many diseases that we find. So when you ensure the digestive system is fine, is okay, that means you have less of diseases. So when I give Vigolex, I get less mortalities. So mortality for the young chicks will be almost to zero. You get 1 or 2, but it will be almost to zero. Number 2, because the liver is functioning very well, the chicks is able to absorb the nutrients very fast. So by the end of the day, what I'll get better weights, and I'll get what? And I'll get good growth. So there will be faster growth when I give Vigolex. So that's some of the benefits I realize. Another thing is, if you look at my poultry house, it's very dry. It's very dry. The litter itself is very dry. Why is it dry? Because my birds, they are not having digestive problems, infections that will make them diarrhea. Because if they diarrhea, you'll see a lot of wet droppings. But if you look at my litter, it's very dry. So those are some of the best benefits that you'll get by using Vigolex. That's why I love Vigolex, and I start my chicks with Vigolex from day 1. So I give Vigolex up to around day 7. That one, I will ensure that the immunity is okay. Then, the other things that you need also to consider, when the chick is hatched from the hatchery, you get the chick from the hatchery, this chick undergoes a lot of stress. There will be a lot of grading and sorting at the hatchery. There will be a lot of packing in the boxes. There will be vaccinations at the hatchery. There will be transportation of that chick before it arrives in my farm. So what will happen when the chick arrives in my farm? The chick is already exhausted. That is number 1. The chick is already stressed. That is number 2. And we have said that this chick, we must give it a good start. So then what do I do in return? What I do, I have to ensure that because my chicks are stressed, I have to give an anti-stress. I use a product, it's called VigoChick. This is VigoChick Chick Start. Another thing that I need to mention, nowadays our consumers are very concerned on what we are giving them as farmers. So my farmers or my customers, they want to know the eggs that I'm producing, are they safe for them? So what then do? I ensure that we use less of antimicrobials, for example, antibiotics, because we don't want to feed our population with these antimicrobials, because we know the dangers. So from the word go, I ensure that the chick has a very good start at the start. Very strong immunity that will ensure I use less of those madawa, of those antibiotics. So then what do? A product like VigoChick Chick Start is a very good product to ensure that we have a very strong immunity for the chick because of its composition. In VigoChick, number 1, we don't have an antibiotic inside VigoChick because we don't want to start feeding antibiotics at an early stage, and that time the chicks are not sick. So we don't want to give chicks that are not sick antibiotics. So VigoChick will not find an antibiotic inside it. That is number 1 thing, the beauty of it. Number 2, VigoChick, you'll find we have what we call omega-3 and omega-6. Remember, I'm talking of building immunity, a strong immunity for the chick. So omega-3 and omega-6, they are very good to give immunity for the chicks. So by that, you will have even less of what we call the early chick mortality. So you give them a very good start. Another thing, it is well balanced with vitamins. Vitamins will give the chick an appetite. Vitamins will help the chick to relieve stress. So it's an anti-stress and also an appetizer. Another thing that you find in Vigolex and in VigoChick is what we call energy. You'll find we have put dextrose in it, which is energy, because we say that this chick is already exhausted. We need to give it energy, an instant energy. So you give VigoChick Chick Start from day 0 to around day 7. That way I ensure that my chicks are well and they are strong. So the first week, my key products is Vigo Chick Start and Vigolex. This is what I start my chicks with, and this is what has benefited me as a farmer.